Hey guys, and welcome back. Welcome to my channel. So today, obviously as the video title suggests, we're going to be talking about baking and setting your face. My lovely aunt asked me in one of my previous videos to do a video on how to bake / set your face for Black women. I'm going to be talking a lot specific to Black girls, but it's really in general for anybody, really. So yeah, now there's two different ways you can set your face. You can use a pressed powder. I honestly don't really do that method just because those powders tend to put on more coverage, and I feel like I'd rather have a foundation that has full coverage than having to put on powder. Even though I'm an oily girl, I don't necessarily want like a ton of powder all over my entire face. I more have, oh my dogs, these dogs. I more have oily skin in the center of my face and normal-ish skin on the outskirts. It does get oily if I have my makeup really long, but I more have like combination skin. So I'm not a fan of pressed powder setting. But really and truly, if you like that method of setting, you really only have one issue, and that is ensuring that you have the right color, and basically that's it. Once you have the right shade, I think, you're pretty good on that. But the loose powder setting, which is my favorite, tends to be the trickiest. Yeah, it's the trickiest because there's so many things you have to take into consideration when using it. But one of the biggest pros is that, of course, it doesn't have coverage. Unless you're using like one of those colored ones that really have coverage. Even though my own is colored, it's not one of those type of setting powders. But if you're using one of those, then yeah, it may have a little bit of coverage, but it's nothing crazy. So I like that. That's a huge pro to setting powders. So we're going to talk about setting powders, and I'm looking to the side because I have some notes. Wrote down some stuff because I didn't want to like forget anything. I'm trying to find my setting powder as well. It's over there. Just go and get that. Okay. So let's get into this video. So the first thing you want to do is ensure that your skin is properly moisturized and primed. I'm gonna be honest, I don't always prime my skin just because I'm not like this huge primer fan, but it does have its purpose. Now, first of all, you want to moisturize. That's because if you're going to be baking or just using setting powder in general, you want to make sure your skin is hydrated because powder is very drying, and there's no getting around that. Even though I have oily skin, I still do moisturize. I just make sure I use a moisturizer that caters to my skin type. And why it's a good idea to use a primer is because you want to fill in any pores or fine lines, because powders tend to my struggle is the story of my life. Anyways, powders tend to accentuate your fine lines and stuff like that, so it's really good to use a primer to smooth that out. Then you also want to take into consideration your skin tone and your skin type. Now, Black girls have a huge issue with translucent powders. A lot of them say they're translucent, but they're honestly not true translucents, which sucks, because then it leaves a white cast over the face or you get severe flashback. So with that, I would advise for Black girls to use a powder that's tinted, and one of my favorite is these dogs is the Sasha Buttercup setting powder. Now they do have two shades, Buttercup Light, which is what I use, and Buttercup, I think just Buttercup. They also have a translucent powder. I've never used it. And they also do have setting powders that are based on skin tone. I think probably like 6 or 8 shades. I could be wrong, I don't remember. But yeah, so I do advise you that if you're a girl of color, to use a powder that has like a really yellow undertone. I know that Maybelline has setting powders now, loose setting powders as well, in different skin tones, so that's something you look into. I know Black Opal has setting powders as well, so that's something you want to look into. And also, like I said, you have to take into consideration your skin type, because if you have drier skin, then some powders can feel super drying on the skin. I know they say that the RCMA is really good for dry skin. I've never used it. I don't have dry skin, so I don't have an issue with powders. So you just have to take that into consideration. And also something to note is that everything in makeup is trial and error. You're gonna have to try different powders, try different techniques. These little tips that I'm giving and techniques that I use work for me. They may not necessarily work for you, so it's just a matter of trial and error, seeing how it works best for you. Now, you also want to ensure that the powder that you're using doesn't have certain ingredients in it, such as, let me get my book here, zinc oxide, titanium dioxide, mica, I could be butchering all these words, titanium dioxide, and I think silica. I'm not sure about the silica one, but yeah. These ingredients are these ingredients are what causes flashback. And I'm gonna be honest, in the Sacha Buttercup, I have a few of those ingredients in it, but I think because it's yellow toned, that it doesn't have that problem. I feel like if it was translucent, then would have definitely have an issue with it, but because it's so yellow toned and works well for my skin tone, I feel like that's why we don't have that issue. So that's something you also want to look into when purchasing a setting powder. You want to ensure that there isn't any ingredient in it that's going to cause flashback. You can do your own research. I just did a really light research on it, so you can do your own and kind of like see, you know, what the I can't talk today. You want to see what the ingredients are that causes a flashback. Now, another culprit, which many people may or may not know, that causes flashback is SPF. You want to ensure that the foundation, the concealer, whatever it is you're using, even moisturizer, doesn't have SPF in it, because then you're gonna have flashback problems. It won't be just your under eyes, it will be your entire face. It's good to have foundations and concealers and just skincare that has SPF in it, which is good for the daytime, but if you're gonna be doing flash photography, if you're going to be doing flash photography, then you want to avoid any product that may have SPF in it, because you may have an issue there. So now I'm just going to go into the whole setting process, little tips and tricks for setting my face. Not really many, but yeah, so we're going to get into that right now. All right, so another one of my tricks, I don't really say it's a trick, but a tip, is I like to contour first before I conceal. A lot of people I watch tend to conceal first and then contour. I don't do that because a lot of concealers, some of them tend to dry down matte, and it makes it a lot harder for you to reblend before you go in and set with a powder. So I like to conceal after I've already contoured, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. All right, so one of the tricks that I have that I like to do, and it's not really any secret, but I realize that a lot of people don't do it, is that I like to actually set the face first before going and bake. Now, why I like to do this, especially if you have a powder that isn't a true translucent or just happens to give you flashback, the thing is that the face right now is not set, it's still kind of tacky. So if I put down a whole lot of powder right there, all that is just gonna cling right to the skin, and then you're gonna have more of a mess. So I like to set the face first just to kind of reduce that flashback problem that people tend to have, and just so that even if you don't necessarily get flashbacks, sometimes there's just like a overlay on the skin. You can see that little white cast, or it's kind of too grayish. Just so that I don't have that problem, I set it first, and then I go in and bake. Just like how they always say, you know, set your entire face lightly so that when you're blending in other powders like your contour and blush and stuff like that, it isn't like patchy because it clings to different areas of the skin. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do that. Get some powder here, and I'm pressing it into the skin. Now I personally prefer to do it with a sponge just because I do have oily skin and I want that powder to really get in there. If you have dry skin, then I would just suggest taking a brush and just lightly dusting over it. And for the rest of the face, I'm just going to use a powder brush and dust that over. Now for the baking aspect of it, it's really important to understand what baking is. Basically what you're doing is you're putting a good amount of powder over the skin, and what it's doing is trapping the heat and actually cooking or baking the skin. That heat is what's helping to set that area in place. Now, I would just advise you to set the parts of your face that you know tends to slip and slide after you've worn it for a long while, or if you're like me and have oily skin, you want to set the parts of your face or bake the parts of your face that you know tends to get oily. And then for this area right here, I like to do that, my laugh lines, and press it right in there. Now, as it relates to how long you bake, I think that's all up to you and trial and error and just seeing how it works. If you have drier skin, then I wouldn't tell you to keep it in for 5 minutes. I'd say a minute maybe. I don't know dry skin like that, so maybe I'm not the best person, but I tend to typically like finish my eyes. If I haven't done my brows, I'll do my brows. And I do that because even though after I finish wiping it off, it kind of looks cray. I have really oily skin, so I know after my skin is kind of settled into the makeup, it will look good. So it's all dependent on you. You kind of have to trial and error that part of how long you want to keep it on. And then, oh my god, it's almost done. All right, and then you want to set your face. That's what's gonna take away from that powdery look. And I like to set twice with a setting spray, if I can even do that. So I like to set the first time after I have dusted away my bakage, and then after I finish up my face, I set again. Okay, so another trick that I have is that if you find that you have fine lines which are really bad, I would advise you to smoke out your lower lash line. That covers it up a lot. It covers it up a lot. So that's another tip in case you know you're blending and your fine lines are just giving you too much problem, it ain't working. Just smoke out your lower lash line and you'll be fine. Trust me, you'll be fine. So yeah, I think that's basically it. I don't think I have anything else to talk about rebaking. I just think everything is trial and error. Also, you have to be mindful of your skin. It's a huge thing. Whether you have younger, youthful skin or you have more aged skin, if you have like more mature skin, I'd be very light rebaking just because you tend to have more lines and stuff like that, so you don't want to go too crazy on it. Or just to do simple like light setting like you saw before, I like to press the powder in. Maybe that's something you can think about instead of a light set, you know, in order to help with the longevity of your makeup. So yeah, you have to be very mindful of your skin and just remember that it's trial and error. You're not gonna get it right the first time unless you're just that good. You have to test different products, different techniques. These are just some things that works best for me and things that I keep in mind resetting my face. So yes, I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. Also, if you want to see how I did this look, well, really just the eyes. I didn't film the entire face, but if you want to see how I did my eyes, it'll be linked down below because I'm pretty sure that video is going to go up first. So Just saying. Check it out. Anyways, if you guys enjoyed this watch, feel free to give this video a thumbs up. And if you're new to my channel, feel free to subscribe. If you're not quite sold on me yet, head on over to my channel and check out some of my other videos, and maybe then you'll feel persuaded to subscribe. Thank you guys once more for watching, and hopefully I will see you in my next video. Bye.